I'm going to say Pastor Ernie, do you want to open us with prayer today?
The Lord be with you.
And
Also with
also
you.
with you.
Heavenly gracious Lord, we gather today as your servants, seeking your guidance in our response to our brothers and sisters that have been affected by the recent Hurricane Helene, and even to be prepared to help those will be affected by Milton. Just continue to be our guide, and may we serve you as we serve our brothers and sisters, and may we be the hands of Jesus in and where we go. In your name, and in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So, folks, we are right on target. We're right on schedule. Um, so I'm still getting a lot of questions about what is the greatest need, which is why I sent out that email. And thank you, Pastor Todd, for getting it out to those who were able to receive it before the meeting today. But I'm just going to do a brief recap here. Believe it or not, landfall was a week ago last Saturday. So we're right now into about day 10, depending upon what time you want to count the landfall in Florida. Florida was primarily a wind event. Georgia was wind and flooding. South Carolina was primarily a wind event, tornadoes. And then the 13 counties in North Carolina that were flooded beyond recognition. Our first delivery, my husband and I drove down into North Carolina on Saturday, September 28th. Rod took the box truck loaded down into Perry, Florida, and served down there. And then we worked another box truck into Douglas, Georgia. And one of the questions that have come up in the course of this particular disaster is, does NALC disaster response want to support, and I'm going to use the word support, encourage, or what's a good word for saying you're on your own? So in the past, we have not done chainsaw team. So that's the question that the disaster task force will be discussing, and look at the liability insurance. Not only does the individual require liability insurance, but also then NALC disaster response would require liability insurance. So as we made deliveries into Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, we got a scope of the damage and destruction. Emergency relief supplies, we started then delivering those primarily from the Carolinas and from Caldwell, Ohio, the national warehouse. To date, I have on record 16 26-foot box trucks of deliveries to 14 different communities. I have not been able to account for any of the local church deliveries. And I know, Pastor Heidi, you shared with me about Vilas and that you were supporting the pharmacist there with her store and made a delivery there of some assist. Oh, no, you just went and helped support at the pharmacy.
No. We were just waiting for update of information there, and that's why I had Lucinda join me.
Good.
The last time we were talking about it, she was saying it was too dangerous at that time. And I think I'm going to let Lucinda talk about it, but I think she and her sons are going on Monday and Tuesday to evaluate.
Good. Okay. And then any report you can share with me, I can help support that, as the primary purpose of NALC disaster response is to lift up and support our local congregations when a disaster strikes. So with the emergency relief supplies and the 16 deliveries to date, the primary need initially was food, water, hygiene kits, and then those still with houses, any part of the house is still standing, they wanted flood buckets. And so that's what the 16 deliveries were. And this week we have started moving into redistribution from those donation centers. And that's where the four-wheelers and the pickup trucks came in, that how can we serve these very rural communities whose cars and homes, everything was washed away. So we're doing what we call redistribution primarily this week and serving, and I thank Christiana Haley there and the warehouse that they're partnering with locally. And those others have, I think, Dieter, you worked at the Statesville Airport loading helicopters to do airdrops into the mountains. So I have as much record as I can, and eventually all of this is going to get put into a nice report showing what we were able to do to serve families who lost everything. And as you guys know, Pastor Kathy's been posting a lot of pictures on Facebook and on the website as we're able to. What makes this hurricane different in my world of NALC disaster response is search and rescue is still going on, you guys. And some of the roads are I had a volunteer who was checking on her sister and she drove across half of a bridge. And I about had heart failure. And I said, you cannot do that. You become another fatality for first responders to assist. And so we've been extremely careful with some of these communities, and we have a list of them that we've not been to yet because it simply is not safe to go in there. And there are first responders still doing search and rescue. So it's a little bit different this time. Usually between 7 to 10 days, we're through the search and rescue stage. We are not through it, and I don't know when. I believe the last count was there's still at least 400 to 500 people unaccounted for. So that's something we have to be very mindful of as we continue our efforts of emergency relief supplies. You guys have also seen where we went from tents to looking for camp showers, garden hoses, health kits, hygiene kits, and it was my responsibility to get the new NALC financial address out. Not on the radar at all, you guys, until yesterday when somebody said, you really ought to send everyone the new address for financial donations. Anyone who has called me and asked about making a financial donation, I have asked them to send it to this new address at Bedford, Texas. Those of you with the churches and other organizations who are accepting financial donations, you need to account for those. I'm not aware of them. I can't be responsible for any of those. So just be aware that, as you go, your church goes to a community where there's family or anything, that if there is any activity on the part of your church members, and I don't handle cash, you guys. If someone tries to give me a $20 bill, I say, please, you send this to Texas. I don't want to be responsible for cash or anything like that. So I really make sure I just don't get handed cash, you guys, and even checks. I have somebody else record that I accepted this check from a person. So be real careful about accepting any donations into your churches. Record it. Make sure your treasurer records it for Hurricane Helene. And then the whole issue of gift cards. We love our gift cards. You guys know that better than anybody, and our donations of other material goods. So those gift cards are being used for propane, things like that, as gas stations are coming back online. And then they'll also be used for long-term recovery. And that's real important to make sure everyone who is a donor shares that information with those donors so they know. And now again, you guys know I like Excel. I keep a spreadsheet of who's doing what, when, and where. So any gift cards that come in are on a spreadsheet, and I can tell you where they go out to. And so if any of you guys receive gift cards at your church or anything, please record those. If you share that information with me, I'll go on the spreadsheet in a very complete report to our executive council and our bishop. I keep all of that stuff on records as long as I get the information. But that's why my title is disaster coordinator. I get to coordinate all that fun paperwork, you guys. And I'm being very sarcastic right now. But
when we collect the gift cards, where are they sent to?
I ask that they are sent to Mary Bates, NALC Disaster Response in Caldwell, Ohio, so I
Okay.
can record them and then I can distribute them out through our donation centers, our warehouses in the Carolinas. And I have a record of if I tell one of our warehouse managers, this needs to go on the truck to such and such a person in Burnsville, North Carolina, and I record. And if someone wants to check and see if so-and-so received those gift cards in North Carolina, they have a phone number to call and they can check. So it all can be verified. So again, I'm sharing this information with you so you'll know what stage we're in, knowing on the TV, it's still all about search and rescue. So again, this disaster is such a wide scope. It's a little bit different, it's a little more challenging. And
I
then,
just wanted to clarify, cash to Texas, gift cards to you in Ohio.
correct.
Okay.
And then I sent out the new expense reimbursement form, and anyone who is keeping me aware of their activities, I'm very happy to reimburse your church, your expenses, anything you send me. Again, I've got to put it on record. I got to account for it, and then I can reimburse you. If I don't have you on record, sorry, there's no way for me to get you reimbursement. So, Pastor Ernie, is there anything you want to add on that part? Pastor Ernie, for those of you who don't know, he's chair of the National Disaster Task Force, so he's kind of my boss.
No, just want to make sure everybody, just send Mary an email so we know what's going on so that we can we got to account for how we spend the donations. So we have to have a paper trail. And Mary, and that's what Mary's doing. That's what she's spending a lot of time on. So that's the best way.
And
I know,
thankfully, the task force did give me a office assistant for 10 hours a week. So technically, Rhonda is doing this paperwork, but she's good at typing things into the computer when I'm on the phone a lot. So sorry, Pastor, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want you to know it's not just Mary sitting in this office right now. Rhonda's here with us too.
but we do have a new financial person in Texas, and if you send these forms through computer, you'll get reimbursed quickly.
Very quickly, within
If
10
you
days.
send them snail mail, we don't know. So that will be the process. And Mary, if you need the forms, just get a hold of Mary.
Yeah, I've sent them out, and I think Pastor Todd, you sent it out on the Carolinas, and I sent it out to the National Disaster Task Force. So if there's anyone else who needs the form, please let me know. Send me a text, email, and I will get that out to you. Or I should say, Rhonda will get it out to you. So those are some of the nuts and bolts behind the scenes that you guys as pastors don't see that's going on with NALC disaster response, but that's also why everything that we do is traceable, accounted for, and reported to the bishop and the executive council. So I just wanted to clarify that because this disaster is so huge that we're dealing with lots and lots of money and donations. And right now we're well over $1 million in-kind donations. And again, I'm tracking all of that. And I think we're about at 1.2 million. In 10 days, you guys, you realize how awesome our congregations are to do that in 10 days? So a big shout out and thank you to all of our congregations on that part. And then the last item that I wanted to bring up was as we move into new stages of where we're at with this particular disaster, we're doing redistribution from the major donation centers. And so I got a phone call today. One of our small communities is out of food. I called one of the major donation centers. Hey, y'all have extra food? Oh, we have truckloads of it. Get it to Glenwood Baptist in Marion, North Carolina, ASAP. It's happening. So it's not just us. And so where I get my information from, and again, this is Disaster 101, but I sit in on the North Carolina Emergency Management, what's called an Emergency Operations Center, ESF6, Mass Care, phone calls. I get information directly from the Emergency Management Agency. FEMA also hosts what they call Joint Field Office phone calls. I don't participate. I just sit and listen, as does every other faith-based organization in the country right now. And that's what I do as your national director. And then also I sit in on the North Carolina VOAD, and which is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. Those are held every other day for all of the Carolina coordination among the churches. I just sit in, don't take any active participation. We're not technically members. However, I get a lot of information there. And then I get a lot of information from you all. And I discovered some really, really like texting and some like email. So I'm learning all about your guys' personalities. Pastor George, we can add that to our spiritual care class too, okay? But so I compile that information. So when somebody calls me, I can say, right now today, Glenwood Baptist in Marion, North Carolina needs food, all non-perishable food, and needs can openers. So when you wonder how I know where to send who and how this all comes together, I compile information on a daily basis, and I may do it while I'm loading a truck. Again, I listen. If something catches my attention, I make a note of it so I can pass it along to one of our congregations. And as we look at progression of this disaster, we're going to move into muck and gut. That means go and muck out a house, gut it down to the studs so it can dry out, and then long-term recovery will kick in and we'll start rebuilding. There are houses standing, contrary to what the national news will tell you. One of our members, her sister, and all of her relatives in Bakersville, their houses are still standing, but they had 4 feet of water through them. And those who had basements, the basements filled up. So that means we need to go in, clean out the basement, replace the electrical panel, check the wiring, get it inspected, get it approved, and get her a hot water tank and a furnace she can move back in. First floor, second floor was not damaged. So we can start moving into muck and gut, that stage now, and start working with our volunteers. And I will tell you right now, from out of state, I've got the month of November completely booked with out-of-state volunteers willing to come in and start helping these families. So a big thank you, Jesus, to all of our out-of-state volunteers. The other part, then, I'm glad Pastor George is on the call, that we're all, and I'll emphasize all of us, are getting a little bit tired. Some folks are not on this call today because they are worn out. And I get about 4 hours of sleep a night, but after, as you all know, my 27 years, I'm pretty good with that. So when and if you need a break, turn the phone off or just answer the calls pertaining to your congregation. Don't take my call. I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm really emphasizing. I'm okay with that. The only time I won't take your call is if I'm on the phone, right, Pastor Mark? I'm on the phone a lot, but don't respond. You don't have to. We're all, except, well, now I'm on payroll. I'm going to say we're all volunteers, and I have been for years. So as a volunteer, take care of yourself first. We're through the part of getting people food and water. There's 22 pallets of water sitting in Salisbury, North Carolina right now that can go out to any of these 16 communities we're serving, and that organization will deliver it for us. We're doing really, really well, you guys. And so a big, big thank you for how hard everyone has been working. We're through the first 10 days. So take care of yourself, please, please. And I'm taking care of myself. Like I said, everyone knows that I have a very dry sense of humor. And so jokes is what gives me a little relief. So anyone have a good joke to tell right now? Oh, just kidding. So take care of yourself. Take a break. We're through the worst of it. Okay. Now, if you were to talk to any family in the mountains, including even Asheville, Their nightmare is ongoing and continuing. They don't have a roof over their head. They don't have a way to take a shower. Everyone's begging for any way to take a shower, and we're getting all these portable showers shipped in. So each family will have their own individual shower. It might be out in the yard, but they can take a shower, and we're getting them health kits. So they have a towel and washcloth, shampoo, soap, they can brush their teeth. And that's all based on as the utilities come back on and water comes on. So we're in a really good place, you guys. So thank you for all the hard work. And a special shout out. I see Pastor Don's on the line. For the four-wheelers, Jerry Miller at Oregon Lutheran rounded up 40 guys with four-wheelers, and they delivered all over Hickory, Granite Falls, all that area up there where our pastors are. And then Pastor Don was working with a group that a member of her church, I think it's the council president, and they made deliveries with their deuce and a half and some four-wheeler stuff. So we're getting into the people whose cars are washed away and they can't get out, and helicopters are airdropping food, but that's a little iffy if they know where a family's at or not, or whether they're dropping to a community. So we're getting in anyone who comes to my attention, we're getting into them. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you, Jesus, that you guys are hanging in there, but we're in a really good place at this point. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. And Pastor Ernie, would you like to add then anything to the report as we start talking about working with these families, rebuilding homes, rebuilding roads, those kinds of things? So Pastor Ernie?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay,
I don't.
and how about Rod? I know you're muted right now, but anything you want to report as a warehouse manager? And then I don't know, is Frank on as a warehouse manager?
Kings Mountain Warehouse still has some supplies in it. However, I got a bunch of camping supplies, tents, and sleeping bags. They still wanting them up in the mountains.
Yes, they are. And I
Okay.
can give you an address when we hang up here.
The other thing is I got a Holy Trinity up in Pennsylvania. They called me this morning and wants to know what our dire need is as far as equipment wise. They were wondering about getting propane generators to send down to get put on a truck going in. They will send them straight to Advent to the warehouse by Amazon.
Okay, so yes, and that's a question for the local EMA, and I can have you an answer in an hour, Rod, as to say yay or nay to that donation, okay?
I know they don't have gasoline or any of that stuff up there. I suggest maybe propane powered generators.
Okay.
They're dual fuel, so they slowly getting gas. They can switch to gas, but I know they can get propane bottles to power these generators.
And I've got to get permission from the emergency management people to bring them in. So I'll have an answer to you for that this afternoon, Rod. I'm making a note.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other information to share? Questions? I'll just open up the floor and
Mary, I have a question.
Sure.
Did I understand you to say that you wanted a list of things that we have done in the individual congregation?
If you would like to share that information, anything you want to share that I can put on record. Again, I'm trying to protect our congregations in this very terrible disaster.
Right.
And if you don't want to share that, okay. But again, it's a matter of if you want to partner as far as any reimbursement or anything like that, I've got to have you on record.
Right. Well, I do know that several members took a trailer load of stuff somewhere. I don't even know where.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know whether you needed a list of places where an individual congregation has ministered to. Not necessarily for reimbursement or, I just wanted to know if you needed it for record keeping.
Yeah, I love making our congregation shine. And you guys realize when you talk about over $1 million, how amazing that is for 500 churches in the US. I mean, it just astounds me how great a job you guys have done. So anytime, George, that we can, share a little positive
Sure.
news about our congregations, I love getting. I might not respond to your email, but send it to me in an email so we can compile it into the report and put
All
a
right.
spotlight on all of our congregations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Mary, the LCMC wants to help. They're getting their phones jammed up with calls from their churches, and I just got off the phone with Kathy Nickel on staff there. Sharon McFadden also has been sending people to call me to help just because they know that I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
So I've been telling people these two things. If you've got a smaller donation that you want to make, say under $1,000, if you send it to St. Paul's, made out to St. Paul's, we'll turn it into hygiene kits and flood buckets and get it up to the warehouse in Statesville. But if you've got anything over $1,000, I have been telling them to send it made out to NALC Disaster Relief at the Caldwell address, because that's what you told me the other day. But now I heard something about a Bedford, Texas address. Which one do you want it to go to?
Bedford, Texas. I got clarity on that. And yes, so everything I'm getting is going straight to Bedford. But as I shared with you, Pastor Mark, I'm spending the money before Bedford ever sees it because I'm putting it right into trucks.
Okay. But still made out to NALC Disaster Relief. Okay.
Always.
They are in a staff meeting right now, but expecting me after this Zoom call to call them back with my recommendations for what to do. And those are the two things that I'm going to tell them. Do you have a recommendation one way or the other, whether should or
We're going to
shouldn't
get
do that?
down through the list of what the greatest needs are for this week. But also, any of you who are dual rostered as LCMC, you're eligible, if I understand correctly, up to $20,000 from LCMC for your congregation to respond to this disaster. And you know what $20,000 can do? Wow. Please contact your LCMC person and apply for that 20,000. There's a process. Pastor Mike Geese, who used to be here in Ohio, he's the one that actually married my husband and I. He sent me the new process they have and how you can apply.
Okay, but for the LCMC's website, so that they can let all their congregations know what to do, those are my two recommendations. If it's a small amount, send the money to St. Paul's. We'll turn it into necessary supplies. But if it's bigger money, just send it to NALC Disaster Relief in Bedford. Is that okay?
Yes,
all right.
That's okay. And we'll get everything prioritized as to the needs and how to spend the money. And as I shared with one person, you guys know I'm not in the budget of NALC. NALC disaster response is not in the budget anywhere. And so everything we do is on donations and contributions. And as Pastor Ernie and I had the conversation one day, he says, well, what do you do when you run out of money? Then we can't respond. There's no other options. Once we run out of money, we're done. And a big thank you, Jesus. Mary has never run out of money in our 14 years now as NALC disaster response. Isn't that amazing? So I'm real excited at how well things are going at this point. So let's share other reports.
Mary?
Pastor Todd?
Two things. One, our congregational disaster response coordinator discovered that yes, as they were shutting down the operation at the Hickory Airport, they established a shelter for 200 folks, 200 evacuees, and that'll be in Granite Falls. Our closest NALC congregation there is Christ United. That's Pastor Rick Smith. I've been talking with him about it. He's bivocational and actually works for the local government, so he's digging into that up there to see how we can help. I don't have any more details on it right now, but I'm hoping eventually we'll figure out, these people who've been displaced and they're in this, basically they put them in a warehouse with cots. So as soon as I know more about what we can do to help them, I'll try and get the word out on that. And then Mary, I don't know if you're keeping up with your hundreds of emails. I just wanted to put a plug in for how the organization formerly known as the Boy Scouts of America has been chipping in. Pastor Steve King and my wife, who works for BSA, took a truck with, oh geez, 7 pallets. It was a 16-foot box truck and it was full. Okay. These are things that the National Warehouse is in Charlotte, and they went and found things that have a shelf life on them, and they basically got permission from the big boss to release them. So that was yesterday. This morning I got another email. Apparently the CEO of BSA has released, and I saw a list in there. Part of it said something like 400 tents. There's some other things coming, but it was batteries and first aid kits and a lot of the good stuff that people need. And now the BSA and they said specifically, we want this stuff to go to the locations that other people are missing. And I said, well, that's what Mary Bates does. So it's like a match made in heaven. Now they want to send some volunteers also. So I don't know how to answer that question yet, but I'll get you that. But the next list that he sent to us, Mary, in a group email, it's got some more details on that. I don't know when that's going to be released, probably in the next day or two. But they're keenly interested in helping our efforts because we're going where the other people aren't. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other reports?
Mary, Dieter here. We have heard reports of some places where they are now turning supplies away for good reason. They don't have facilities to stock them up. So if we have stuff that we know will be needed in another week or 2 or 3, just a word of caution, don't take it, hold up, and then we can take it later because they are overrun. And I know that because when we were in Statesville, we had stuff that, truckloads who went into Newlands and Marion and Spruce Pine, and now they don't know what they can't handle it fast enough out because people, like you said, people don't have cars, so they can come and get it. So we just have to be cautious. It's not because they don't like us. It's just they are overrun at the moment.
And that's why we're using Statesville, St. John Statesville's warehouse, and Advent, and Chapin, South Carolina, St. Jacob's warehouse. Those are staging areas. So if you need to get stuff out of your church, let me know. I'll get a truck over and we'll go and move everything into the warehouse and stage it there. Okay?
Never underestimate the power of asking for help. I put on Facebook, we would like a storage unit for free if anybody's willing to help with disaster response so that we can help stage the staging that's happening for long term. Within 15 minutes, 2 people offered up a storage space in their place. One is temperature controlled and one is not. And one of them is going to be long term as long as we want to use it because they're connected to the congregation and I didn't know it. And one of them is a local businessman that just wants to be helpful and he considers that to be his part and I can have his for 2 months. So right now, the stuff that we had to take away from Hearts with Hands yesterday and bring back because it was closed and they cannot handle that right now, that later, but not right now. We brought it back down the mountain with us. We're taking it to his storage unit because it's going to have a quick turnaround in a different spot. We got about 6 tentacles from our congregation in the hollers and villages right now. Besides NALC disaster response, we're helping them too. But, this is how it goes. And then the longer term one, we're going to put our tangible temperature control food stuff in it. So I'd never underestimate the power of asking. I mean, within 15 minutes, boom, there they were. So.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Tanya. That is great to hear. And I believe I had Pastor Heidi and Lucinda, there you are. Can you share also with us?
There you go. I was trying to unmute myself. I'm sorry. So I have a niece that's in Boone. She and her husband are both pharmacists. And we're actually told they couldn't leave when the hurricane was approaching because they were going to be needed to fill prescriptions. So they stayed. Their house survived. They're without childcare right now. That's an issue. For those that are able to work, a lot of the childcare's got damaged, destroyed. They're not open. So that's one of the issues that she's dealing with right now. She has, of course, as a pharmacist, have been getting some phone calls from some of the smaller communities, telling them that they're not getting any help, the smaller communities outside of Boone. I'm sure people have reached some of these communities now, but last week she said it was very frustrating because people were calling, and while they
Can you
appreciate,
share the names of any of those communities, please?
I will. I don't know that I can recall them off the top of my head. She lives right on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. She lives in Velas. So she said a lot of those smaller Tennessee communities were really begging for assistance.
Yeah, we've been to Greenville and we're over in Tennessee, so
Yeah.
we're working over in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, keep me up to date and I'll.
Yeah, and she said there's no running water, and while they appreciated the bottled water and they needed the bottled water, what they really needed were jugs of water so that they could clean themselves because that they're not able to get anywhere to bathe at this point. She has sent me the names of some churches that also need assistance with cleanup and trying to get their doors back open that were flooded. And she floats around. She is a floater for Boone, for the Boone Drug Pharmacy. So she's been to Linville. She said there was a lot of damage there. She gave me a couple of churches there that needed help. But I can certainly send you the names of some of those other communities that she gave me. I don't have them. I'll have to open up my text messages and get those names.
Send all that to me and we will get right on that, Lucinda, because I've got people asking what can they do? I like to give them an answer. I put everybody to work the same day, okay?
Okay. And she said the fire departments are an excellent resource also as far as volunteering, where you need to go, what you need to do, whose talents can be used best where. She sort of gave me a list of fire departments in the area to contact because me and my boys are going to go up while they're out on fall break and try to just do what we can. And she said the cleanup is not really something that you can do outside other than removing the trees and the mud. She said the mud's still moving. The mud's still coming down in areas. And that's why she didn't want me to come up last week. She said the mud slides were just unpredictable. But that's an update from somebody that's sort of sitting there and has a firsthand observations every day.
All right. Well, we appreciate that input and everything. And yes, and that's why we really won't begin muck and gut too much until next week. We need to, again, be very mindful, very careful. So Lucinda, keep us up to date on your end. And then also, I think Pastor Don Reister, you have a report because did you guys go into Spruce or?
You're unmuted. You're unmuted.
Oh, hi. We have been into Glenwood. The Operation Celebration Freedom has been to Cashiers. They've been to Glenwood. They've been in contact with people in Weaverville that are up at the Mount Mitchell area. We're in contact with Spruce Pine First Baptist. We're in contact with Spruce Pine First Baptist, and Piney. What's the name of that one? Piney Mountain Baptist Church. They need volunteers, because their volunteers are just wore out, and they've been serving like 500 people meals every day. Sugar Hill. And Sugar Hill, we've been to Sugar Hill, and the pastor at Sugar Hill also is the pastor down in Chimney Rock. So they've been distributing down in both of those areas.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Other folks, I know Pastor Rebecca Foster made another trip. Am I correct in that, Pastor?
We basically took a load up to, there's like a in Hickory and App State campus where they were flying stuff out. So we took some stuff there. And I have been keeping contact with the Vine and Clyde, and I'm going to actually call them today and see what specific needs that they have. And that's what we'll do our drives based off of, because they told us they needed things like powdered milk, which I never even thought of, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And yes, their disaster coordinator has been in touch with me and also gave me a list, Pastor. So that's one of the things I'll be sharing. But the Vine is desperately in need of some items. Yes, they've handed out everything you have sent them and I have sent them. So,
okay.
Okay. How about anybody else? If you've got your picture up, just wave your hand.
We've been in Swannanoa and Fairview. And Fairview is working out of a church. Swannanoa is Hearts with Hands. Both places, apparently, the flood buckets, they're taking the goodies out of them and using them eventually. But right now, they're stockholding them and using the buckets as toilets. I'm just saying, in both spots, especially with their volunteer base.
I have not heard that.
Yes, ma'am. I saw that. Well, I didn't get too close, but I saw that actively happening as people took their treks to the outhouse. Hearts with Hands is sending out 3,000 meals a day, and their biggest need right now is food containers. They're using as little as possible for their volunteer base, but they have a line of mobile vehicles, little minivans. They're cute as they can be, but somebody donated them for use, and each van is assigned to a different town, and they've got communication as much as they can get it. Here's about how many people we think we have. Here's people who need insulin or oxygen. Send this many meals. And they have a kitchen truck on site that's got like 4 kitchens in one big trailer and a food cook team. So at any given moment, they're cooking lunches and dinners and breakfast and boxing up stuff and sending it out with these little mobile carriers. But they're sending out about 3,000 meals a day. And they said the containers for the meals we're sending out is their biggest need right now. Their warehouse is enormous, and there's a lot of good stuff happening there. However, they're turning away every ounce of clothing. They're taking new blankets, but no clothes. However, Fairview is taking blankets and clothes.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand it, but that's what they're doing, and that's what they're asking for, so we're sending it.
And so how amazing our congregations are in the partnerships. One of our members works for a wholesaler, Pastor Tanya, and the wholesaler has agreed, the owner of the company has agreed to waive the fact that we're not a wholesale company, we're a church. He's willing to sell us at his cost pallets of whatever we need, like food containers.
Yep.
So this afternoon, I'll be calling Jeff Hammond at one of our congregations and saying, I'm placing an order. And we'll have it shipped directly to Hearts and Hands.
Yay! Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Have I missed anybody else who I personally know has been on the road? I'm not going to have Dan Richardson talk because he's actually on the road right now, but he's been cleaning out everything in the Midwest and getting it down to you guys from Indiana. And he now has for Beulah Dean's area, at their request, they wanted any mattresses. And he picked up from the University of Dayton, Ohio, 100 twin size extra long mattresses, and will be delivering them by Friday. So that's Dan's report. Rod Paulson, are you still on with us? I think we maybe lost him. So Pastor Ryan or Pastor Stephen King? I thought I saw. Pastor Ryan, do you have any report to share from down that way?
No, because they didn't tell me where they were going this past weekend.
Okay.
So I've got to find that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how about anybody else?
Mary, this is Bob Tardif.
Yes, Bob.
Mary?
Yes.
You had asked that I check on the livestock food up there in the panhandle from the fire, and I did, and they're in good shape.
Great. And so the good news is there's an ag company in North Carolina So we had our Texas folks and Colorado folks checking on hay deliveries, and they were able to come up with hay deliveries if we needed them. But I posted it on the Facebook page. There's a live or ag company providing all the hay, grain, feed for livestock that anybody can use, and they're also accepting donations. So Pastor Kathy has one gentleman donating up to 70 round bales. We've got phone calls from several others with donations of hay that's going in. So all of that, and we can arrange from Canton, North Carolina, deliveries of hay and grain to those with livestock as it's needed. So that's another resource that we've tapped into and are providing coordination of.
My name's Mike Morris. I work with, or actually, I'm a member at St. Matthew's Lutheran Church, and we have a lot of local farmers that just sent up right at 1,000 bales, round bales of hay. So that's some good news. They've really come together to do that, and myself, I have just started this process, but I went to council on Sunday to get it approved for me to start a disaster response team. And through that, I've been able to find y'all and get in contact with Mary and through this process. And so hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I've already got 2 trailers to put tools in to do like the muck and gut, those type things, and another smaller trailer to kind of put like a food preparation kitchen together or whatever. So I have no idea. I'm just starting this. So I'm getting on this call to kind of learn what I need to do next. Maybe me and Mary can get together after this and discuss what my next steps will be as far as maybe I meet with men's group next Sunday to get funding for my trailers to stock my trailers. So hopefully within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we can start moving forward to help as we're concerned about people starting to wear down. And we know this is a marathon. This is not a sprint, and it is going to take a lot of time. I'm out of Salisbury, North Carolina. I have a lot of friends up there, a lot of family that's up there working, kids that go to go to ASU. So we want to put in the time and go help out. So any information y'all have, y'all can give me to help me start moving forward in this process would be great. Otherwise, I'll get in touch with Mary and we'll touch base together and go from there.
Absolutely. Other reports of Kelly sent us a needs list. And Kelly, do you want to share any updates to what you sent us last week that I forgot to call you on? She's still on mute. Okay. While you figure out your mute there, Kelly, or you can, oh, there you are. You're unmuted. No, we can't hear you. Okay. Well, how about if you send us your updated needs list and I'll get that out with Pastor Todd as he did last week. And yes, Mike, thank you from St. Matthew's there. We're glad to have you join us. And we've got Donna Jones, who just loaded the box truck yesterday. We got another load coming out of Maryland and New Jersey. And Donna, you want to share about that?
Yes, ma'am. Martin came down yesterday afternoon and we had a team of people stage all the items in the parking lot. So when he came, we could just load everything up. And then we have a few items left. I don't know if you can stage to go with Pastor Craig Mormon's son Jacob next week. And we're still collecting. I know one of the other churches in the area was going to bring in some stuff this week. And so we're still collecting, and someone donated 40 flood buckets. They're empty, so I'm going to work with some donations I've received to start filling those up. If I get them done before they come next week, do you want me to send those or hold them for a little bit?
Send them. We need them, Anna.
I figure, yeah, because I think this stuff is going to go to Tampa. Is that the plan?
I don't know that yet until we see where she lands, but yeah, that's all to be determined.
Okay.
So
Mary?
Donna's just one example of the many, many churches around the United States supporting you guys right now, keeping you all in prayer, but also supporting you guys for, as Mike said, this marathon that we're on, because I fully expect to be in North Carolina for the next 3 to 5 years. I worked Hurricane Katrina for 3 years, and I think this one's going to be much longer.
Mary,
Yes.
I have 70 flood buckets nearly ready, so when I'm done, I'll bring them to the warehouse. Also, Pastor Carter, I don't know if she's on here. They were at Creston yesterday, North Carolina, and I'm going to go tomorrow, and then I'll take another team on Saturday. So is there
Great.
other towns that you know of that we need to go in?
Yes, there are. And I'll get to that here in just a minute, if that's okay.
How long have we been on?
All right. So how about also Pastor Cassie? We haven't heard from you yet from St. Peter's down in Lexington.
Well, I'm actually working with Christ the Servant, which is an LCMC congregation, and we just organized this past Sunday. We've got another meeting, and we put out we're on the radio, we're on all kinds of community billboards, everything, trying to get people to fill us up. So I'll call later when we know what we've got. We'll have to figure out how we're going to get it where where it needs to go best. And we've already gotten quite a bit of money, so we're excited about moving forward. And I'm trying to work with them in a way that will help them establish some disaster response in a long-term way, so that we're not just doing this, but we're going to be planning and regularly doing some kits and getting flood buckets together and all that. So we're doing good. And I did have an interview with Luke and Emily this week, and I haven't started to write that article, but I will. We had a young couple that were in Asheville and finally got out and had a lot of story they wanted to share. So I did an interview with them. His father's a pastor. So yeah, we're just moving along. And you and I have been talking about what we're going to do Thanksgiving. I guess we're going to be in Asheville for Thanksgiving.
Or some community that's very rural, but how about St. Peter's, Lexington? You have a report to share?
Yeah, so we just had one of our members just went and took a load of supplies up to Glenwood yesterday, and he had a good experience there, and so we're at our congregation, we're continuing to collect all kinds of supplies. We've got the updated needs list from Glenwood with Bob's help, so that's been great. And got some monetary donations too, that our service committee gets to go shopping and look for good sales. And we have ladies that love to go shopping and look for sales. So that's, there's everyone can be involved in some way. But yeah, we've been enjoying, getting to be a part of collecting supplies and looking ahead to making more deliveries and volunteer opportunities coming up too, to go and serve.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Pastor Bill White, you're the assistant to the bishop. Am I correct in that?
Yes, for this area. Yes, ma'am. And I'm the interim pastor at St. John's in Statesville. So I just know we received a number of tents and others and shovels and things on Sunday. But I'm not sure, has that been related to you? And
yes. Frank keeps me up with an inventory very nicely, so
okay,
I'm very
good.
updated
Yeah,
on that.
I haven't talked to Frank today, so I didn't know if you would.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
you're up to date with us then, I think. Yes, ma'am.
I am. And then anything that you want to share with the bishop, I haven't had time this week to fine tune the report that Pastor Kathy helped me put together, but we'll be sending a report for the executive council and the bishop next week.
Good.
So
Very
if
good.
anybody wants in my report, I need information. Also, I'd like to address in the remaining minutes here, the rumors have started going around, the fake news, however you want to label it, of there's those people driving down from New York in their pickup trucks and stealing everything, and people slashing tires, and people's doing this and people's doing that. And my husband on his last delivery down there into the Bakersville area says, now, have you seen this, or do you know anyone personally who's had things stolen? Well, no, but we got our guns ready. When they come here, we got our guns ready. I said, no, 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 don't have any guns ready. People's putting lots of nonsense out on social media. So far to date, of all the communities we've been in, I've not had any firsthand reports of any of that going on. Pastor Tanya, have you? You're muted. You're muted. Are you talking to us or?
I am. Everything that all of our people have seen in those 6 tentacles has been nothing but people busting their chops to help other people. Not a single, our folks have not even seen looting. People are just, they're so desperate, they are just helping each other. They don't
And
care
there's
where
nothing
you
to
came
loot.
from. As long as you're there helping, you're a brother, you're a sister, does not matter. That's all they've seen.
And the other question I keep getting is, well, what's FEMA doing? Well, FEMA's doing what they do. We're the churches. I don't worry about what FEMA's doing. And I tell people, here's an 800 number to call FEMA, call and register. That's all I can tell you. And when they open up the Disaster Recovery Center, the DRCs, they can go in there and apply, or they can apply by telephone, but they're still doing search and rescue. So quite honestly, FEMA won't do a whole lot until search and rescue is completed. Even though it's 13 counties and 5 states, they don't do a whole lot until the search and rescue stage is completed. And that's what I tell people, that stop listening to social media and national news organizations that aren't on the ground, don't know what they're talking about. So if you all are asked any of these kinds of questions, please convey to them. Pastor Don?
Yeah, Mary, can we get a list? You say you're going to give us a list before we get off of here. Can you go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
Pretty
Keep me back
please.
on track. You know, I started preaching there for a minute then.
I know, girl, but we're the choir, so let's move it.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
that for me. So as I shared here, and we're having some success finding camp showers, number one. And what I'm talking about is the aluminum frame. You hang a curtain on it out in the yard and use a garden hose to take a cold shower. We're providing those and getting those in. As Rod shared, we've got like 400 tents, or somebody shared about 400 tents where people who don't have any home left standing at least can stay on their property, because there's no hotel rooms. That I can verify. There are no hotel rooms. So camp showers can be ordered on Amazon, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops. We're working with the Boy Scouts. Garden hoses. The health kits are really important right now because they're taking a shower out in the yard as they get water again. And again, it's all based on when to get any utilities back, because so many water treatment plants, so many sewage treatment plants are destroyed. So if they, and I do know one group that ended up, they dug wells. They have a very shallow well, but they have some water that they can tap into. And then additionally, on top of that is, again, you'll hear me talk about gift cards for the rakes and shovels, Lowe's, Home Depot, and we can also use any of those remaining after this stage of the disaster for long-term recovery and purchase of building supplies. Gasoline cards, and Bob Tardif over in Texas is really good about buying us gasoline cards for all of our transportation to and from, and for people who do have a car so they can go into these big donation centers and get stuff. And in addition to that, we're still looking now for non-perishable food and can openers. These donation centers are running out of food because, of course, people do need to eat. So if any of your congregations are able to do a food drive and get it to any of these centers, Swannanoa, Marion, any of these areas that you've already been to, but they are looking for food at this point.
That means the stores have to have food in, Mary. That's our problem.
And I am well aware of that, which is why my box truck, about 1/4 of the truck is food right now. And I'm going to get it down to you as soon as I can.
So I have a question about the camp showers. A lot of places that we have seen, the water is very, very contaminated. Even the Zaxby was using bottled water and bulk water. So shut up, Tanya. I don't know enough about everywhere, but is that not also a danger for now? Or we know that there are areas that have actual water that they can use?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that
Okay.
the bottled water we not drink, not the
Gallons.
Yeah, we need
Bulk.
gallons.
So
And
did you see that Water Missions International was in there trying to do, because they do the 30,000 gallons a day or whatever?
And Orphan Grain Train has brought in their water truck too.
Okay,
It's
good.
a semi-tanker truck.
Okay.
So we're getting resources like that. And in the meantime, any of our families whose water system was not destroyed, like you said, or like I said, so many of them have lost their water treatment plants. So if we can get the big containers of water upside down to a garden hose, they can rinse their hair.
Raw sewage is a big problem. Big problem.
And as we start muck and gut, we need N95 mask, we need rubber heavy duty gloves, we need muck boots, and our volunteers need to go in to do that. We have not, as an NALC disaster response, routinely done muck and gut, but this one's so huge, we've got to do it this time. And we have volunteers willing to do that. I've got a team coming next week from Maryland, and they're coming specifically just to do that in the Bakersville or Burnsville area. And that's what the team last Saturday did up at Creston with this community center. And so Pastor Dieter, you'll have a report for us next week, because Ken Jones is up there right now working with that community center, getting it operational again. He's working on the electricity for them.
From Cassie yesterday, there are still lots, apparently Good Samaritan's Purse came in with 400 people and they did the major clean, but there's still a lot of rooms that has to be cleaned out. And then what she was saying that they were doing yesterday was, again, they had a lot of received goods and they were sorting them out and then trying to get them inside, because if they sit outside, we have bears and stuff that come and get the stuff.
That might be a problem.
The Cajun Navy today was very, very adamant about that, now we have to stand with our guns to protect this food and stuff, not from humans, but from bears, because the bears are getting into the food.
True.
Thankfully, I've not experienced that yet, and I'm okay never experiencing it in my lifetime.
Hey, there's always something new, correct?
Always something new. So in addition to the showers, garden hoses, health kits that are the priority right now, any gift cards, especially gasoline cards, and what's coming up, you guys, is I'm continuing to bring in lots of flood buckets to be used by our teams to muck and gut. The families themselves have taken what flood buckets we've had, but now we're moving into our teams using them. So if I ask you to hold any flood buckets, it's because in the month of November, I'm going to have all these volunteers coming in that need cleaning supplies. And like Dieter just said, we can't just go to the store and buy them. So that's one of the stages we're moving to. In addition, beginning the 1st of November, they're looking for winter coats and jackets. So if any of your congregations want to collect winter coats, winter gear for kids and adults, they will take used, but I want it clean and used, not smoky smelling or anything like that. Also, the week of Thanksgiving, as a group of congregations, do we want to work with one of the hardest hit areas and plan a Thanksgiving dinner to feed potentially hundreds or maybe 1,000 people? And that's something I'm looking forward ahead to on our calendar. And that's something that would take a lot of organization. If we offer to a community a Thanksgiving dinner, that, again, those communities that have not been very much served or not served at all, do we want to do that? So think about it. I don't need an answer today, but we will need to start planning that and collecting for that, and finding a way that we can smoke turkeys or cook turkeys over open fires, because no way are we going to get enough grills to do that for a large community. Pastor Todd, I see your way.
That shelter that I mentioned earlier, I don't have any experience with this. Is that the kind of thing that there still could be people in there by Thanksgiving. Is that
Oh,
something
yeah.
we should consider here locally too?
That's up to this group here. I'm throwing it out on the table. If we want to do it, I will support and help make it happen, but it's up to you all. You're the boots on the ground. So yes, we'll keep Pastor Todd's group in mind. And unless somebody else, and maybe we can do more than one. We've got a lot of support, you guys. So maybe between the South Carolina taking on the southern part of the impacted area and Pastor Todd and our northern churches taking on the northern part, maybe we can make two happen. I'm game for anything, and we'll make anything happen. And then additionally, and I'm asking this of our National Disaster Task Force when we meet next, is to collect Christmas decorations. They're all gone, folks. And these families are going to need that. Toys for their kids. They need some way to celebrate something at this point. So think about Christmas decorations, okay? And we will make that happen. Sorry. I know I get all teary-eyed about the generosity of our churches, but I lost my own home the 1st of November, November 9th exactly. And I was so happy that someone brought me a Christmas tree. Had to set it outside, but I had a Christmas tree. So that's something I'm going to be proposing to the National Disaster Task Force, that we collect new toys for Christmas and Christmas decorations. So that's all stuff coming down the road. We don't have to address it right now today, but think about it. And Pastor Ernie, then, shall we have another Zoom meeting next Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon for everyone who's on the call as we continue to work to meet the needs of so many of our families in these communities as we identify more communities, including any new members like Mike joining us.
Yes.
So next Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon, is that good for everybody?
Raise your hands because everybody's muted.
Okay. We'll meet again next Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon. And again, I'll have a new updated needs list, and we'll add to anybody else's list. We'll also start narrowing down our communities that we continue to focus on. I think South Carolina is going to continue to work with Marion, North Carolina. And then the other congregations who are working with, like Pastor Todd. So anything else that we need to address today on this meeting? And I think Pastor Cassie from St. Peter's, Lexington, was taking some minutes. And if you can share those with everybody, that would be very much appreciated.
Mary?
Yes.
I just thought of this. With your connections, have you heard anything about the snowbird area outside of Robbinsville?
Yes.
Are they okay? Or are they needing help? Or I have family on my wife's side that is up in that area.
And
So,
quite honestly, the folks have already gone south or gone back home, and yeah, it's hit pretty hard.
okay,
But it's a matter of now sorting out who's going to try to continue to use their home, their property, while it's got so much damage to it. But yeah, they need
right.
help.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone offer to have a closing prayer for us? Pastor Tanya?
Always. Gracious God, we give you thanks for our own good fortunes and our blessings that you shower upon us each and every day. As we look to folks who are in need of feeling your touch and knowing that you're there in every circumstance, give us endurance and strength and a right mind throughout this process that will take a whole lot longer than any of us want to see it have to. Be with everybody on the ground. Be with those who have had loss and grief and more question marks than answers and are living in conditions that most people do not understand. or if they do, they're once removed at least a little bit. Help us to be less once removed and more concerned for our neighbor, to love you with everything we've got, and to extend your hands and feet to those who need us to be serving them. Thank you for Mary and her work, everybody who branches off from NALC disaster response and getting things to where they need to go, and every single individual and company that's willing to be helpful for the greater good. It's the loaves and fish, and we're so grateful for that example so that we can understand our role and boundaries and that's actually helpful. So thank you. Thank you that that our affiliation has seen fit to be so generous and help us to love our neighbors. Keep us protected as we do so. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And by Friday, I will be having a Zoom call for Florida and the Sunshine Mission District. And Pastor Todd, if you want, I will send that out so you can share if anybody wants to sit in on that call from the Carolinas. Where our prayers are, there is limited impact. Hope and pray it's only a rain event. And I'll also be posting on Facebook and the NALC website any updates as to any of our congregations impacted. So thank you all. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for hanging in there with us through this terrible, terrible storm. And may God bless each and every one of you. Talk to you next Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.